Colleagues, we have our last speaker for the day, Mr. Feruzi Ngwamba. Feruzi Ngwamba is a researcher, lecturer, and a human rights activist. He is a former member of the Student Representative Council at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. As a student leader, Ngwamba was the KwaZulu-Natal Provisional Academic Development and Transformation Officer of the Black Management Forum Student Chapter. He is the founder and former director of the corporate relations of the Kia Fronting Foundation, a non-governmental organization that evolves to present innovative, pragmatic, and evidence-based problem-solving approaches to societal changes that would broaden the living conditions of the less privileged. Ngwamba holds a Bachelor of Social Science majoring in Political Science and Human Resource Management, honors in Policy and Development Studies, and a Master's of Social Science in Policy and Development Studies. He is currently the coordinator of the Access Program of Humanities in the Office of the Dean of Teaching and Learning at the University of KwaZulu-Natal Pietermaritzburg campus. He is also a member of the University Research and Ethics Committee of UKZN and the Community Engagement Office of the College of Humanities in the Office of the Dean of Teaching and Learning. He is currently registered for a PhD in Policy and Developmental Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Pietermaritzburg. Over to you, Mr. Ngwamba.
Thank you so very much. In the morning, I did ask a question, and I was told I'm going to get the answer. I think I'm going to respond to my own question. Thank you so very much. So this is it's a project that is under construction, which I believe from the time going on, we might end up having other people who are going to join. So if we look at the issue around student dropout, it's not only a South African issue, it's a global issue, and there are multiple evidences around the world how universities are doing in terms of what is happening around students dropping out. But what I'm trying to do is to bring a new conversation, a conversation that exists, but it exists in the periphery. But all of us in our own space, we do understand the problem, and sometimes we tend to ignore. So if you check some of the aspirations and what are happening in the country, you'll find that a recent report of the South African Institute of Advancement in 2021 quantified that South African university can only be able to accommodate 18% of matriculated students, of which out of the 18%, a staggering 47% will drop out, and if distance learning is considered, this figure could rise to 68%, which makes it a very serious challenge when you look at the national questions and the aspiration of a country that is an underdeveloped country. So this negatively impacts on the desired national norms of 80% of success rate targeted by the Department of Higher Education and Learning. So previous literature and research conducted in the area of student dropout provide a lot of information and reason why students do drop out in the South African space. We have age, gender, race, language, attendance, learning style and preferences, entry qualification, incorrect career choices, inadequate academic support. Now, all of these needed a very clear response. And we, as the University of KwaZulu-Natal, we responded to that challenge. And our response came in the form of the University of KwaZulu-Natal Academic Monitoring and Exclusion Policy, which we introduced in 2009. So basically, we were not behind as the university. Looking at all of these challenges, we also came up with a strategy on how to respond to this particular challenge. Now, from this policy, certain interventions were initiated, and we have now mentorship and academic monitoring and support programs. All of these programs, they are conducted in the campus in order to support students, in order to make sure that all of these students get the support that would allow them to perform well and to finish their degrees on time. So some of the support that we offer, the mentorship program, a support structure that was created by the former Faculty of Humanities, Development and Social Sciences in order to assist first-year students upon their arrival at the university from high school. It had clear objective, achievement of good academic performance, and achievement of quick, successful social academic integration in the university environment. We have academic monitoring and support program AMS as a support structure that was created in the implementation of the academic monitoring and exclusion policy. The main aim of AMS is supporting students who fall into at-risk status, getting them into back to good or satisfactory academic status, which is green. But despite all of these interventions, and you can also look at even other universities, you'll find out that they've also have multiple interventions that aimed at addressing the issue that we had. But the underperformance and student dropout still persist. Quinn provide a very interesting classification of all of the challenges that I've mentioned: social, cultural, structural, policy, institutional, personal, and learning factors. So basically, we had a list of all of these causes of underperformance, cause of student dropping out, but Quinn come in and put them into 6 groupings: social, cultural, structural, policy, institutional, personal, learning factors. But for me, if you look at what Quinn has done, and you go back to some of the identifications of the problem, you realize that the social-cultural aspect has not been given much more focus. Now, this, if we go back now to the reflection of all of these things, we would therefore say, ask perhaps a question: is there other factors or cause of student dropout that are neglected? Or perhaps we can ask another question: do the UKZN intervention take into consideration social-cultural factors? Which was my question in the morning, and I believe that I'm in a stage now of responding to my own question. Now, as UKZN, and what we have been doing as AMS, as mentors, tutors, can we really be able to begin to attempt to ask this question: do the UKZN intervention takes into consideration social-cultural factors? Now, in attempting to respond to that question, I came to realize that we have cultural, spiritual related issues that also do contribute to student underperformance. And in all of those cultural, spiritual issues, I did pick up UKUTWASA. Now, UKUTWASA is very complex, but we are going to try to look at it and try to see whether we can get a clear definition or understanding that will allow us to link UKUTWASA to the student dropout. As much as it is important to locate UKUTWASA discourse in the current debate around student dropout, the main goal of this study is not to stop or discourage black students from engaging into their cultural activities. This is explained by the fact that each cultural group has an indigenous knowledge system entrenched in its belief system and cosmology, and that is drawn from Lisa's 2000 writings. The main goal of this study is to give an in-depth description of ukutwasa so as it can be understood as a neglected cause of student dropout in South Africa. It is therefore suggest that South African institutions of higher learning should have exceptional policy aspect and intervention that are aimed at addressing cultural practices and processes that causes student dropout and underperformance. Ukutwasa, in order to understand the basic principle of ukutwasa, one has to understand that the topic forms of the current introduced heated debate in IQS. To place ukutwasa in the indigenous knowledge system means that ukutwasa is defined as an indigenous practices whose origin are basically cultural bound. It is integral to the social-cultural landscape of the Nguni tribe, Amaxhosa, Amazulu, and Amandebele, and other cultural groups. Now, ukutwasa can then be defined in various ways. Xhosa tradition views it as inborn gift that runs in families. This means that one cannot just get up one day and say, I want to twasa. Ukutwasa is an action verb that means to enter into the initiation process, emerging of a new moon and becoming a new person. So basically it is a process, not something that can end up. My time is over, but ukutwasa as a process, does it undermine, or is it a factor that contributes to student underperformance? Thank you so very much. And I'm so happy because I ended here. Perhaps this will allow a continuous discussion. Thanks so very much.
Okay, and any other question that you would like to pose to our presenters?
Thank you to the presenter, and I value your input, and I just want to add that, yes, I think it's important for institutional processes and policies in particular to acknowledge the indigenous processes. But I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have the Academic Exclusions Committee at the university and the college, well, previously it was called Faculty Academic Exclusions and then University Academic Exclusions, CCOM and ACOM. But Makosi is was a member of the committee and would provide testimony on the cases that were being managed in terms of student underperformance related to traditional practices. So, and we saw the value in that process when we know there's a need for a student to step out of the system and to continue with whatever is needed for that student and then to return. Now, what we have had as well is almost a misunderstanding of some of the presentations. For example, whether it was related to a calling, ancestral calling, or whether it was related to mental health issues. So I think your comments you've made are very, very valuable. I'm very familiar with Mama Lisa and her works because she's trained us on this. But I think Angeline Stevens this morning spoke about Prof. Mkhize's colloquium that's taking place later this year, that's looking at building in traditional practices as a service within the university. So for us, it's a space to look at because it has not been developed. There's been a lot of discussion. There's not an ongoing discussion, but as and when it comes up, there's discussions, but we need to focus. So I think there's a very good start. It's starting within your college, humanities, led by the DVC. And I think it's a space for us to look at because herein lies the opportunity to embrace the diversity of students and the different ways in which we support students. More importantly is that the factors impacting student success have spoke about socio-economic, but not necessarily focused on cultural per se. And therefore, I would believe that uKuthwasa was neglected in that. So if you look at the lists of presentations, whether you go onto the CHE website or you look at the traditional research, the cultural factors have actually largely been omitted in that process. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for the comment. And I'm so happy because you said we had a Makosi, which perhaps currently we don't have. Yeah, because, and I do understand all of those committees that exist. But my other question that I would ask myself is to say, we have AMS as a program, which conduct different interventions, such as writing place, tutor, mentors. Now, the question could be, if we have a Makosi who can provide directions and advice, what are the intervention then that we would put in place that perhaps respond to this issue that we have just begun to have a debate and conversation? Thanks for your input.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such an interesting topic, I must say, because we have seen it. It has actually affected our students' progress so much. I'm not sure whether it's a question or it's a comment, what I'm about to say. I've witnessed students, others do this positively and innocently and appropriately and congruent to what they are saying. However, other students, they have manipulated the very same uKthwasa that leads them to drop out from their system or from their courses that they are, or modules that they've registered for. For instance, we have seen quite a number of students. We appreciate and acknowledge integrating traditional medicine into Western medicine. However, like you are saying, I will agree with you to say, maybe we do need those soothsayers or sangomas that will be in place to guide and direct students, because others, when they feel like they want to dodge the classes, they will use uKthwasa as a scapegoat. Yet a person, maybe there is a mental health problem background on that students. For instance, in cases where maybe during exam preparation times, where a student will demonstrate with some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety because the student did not prepare himself or herself, and then will demonstrate these things, you know, as if a person uyathwasa or whatever, yet it is not like that. Fortunately, because I'm coming from the background of mental health, I understand this. I've been calling some of the students into order to say, this is not about it, this is the way to go. So I think policies need to be developed that will support, because also we cannot undermine the culture of the Africans and what they believe in, because others really, they do believe on it and it works better for them. Sometimes really the student needs to be taken out of the system, and that need to be respected because it is their belief. Remember, ethnocentrism says you do not need to look at the other people's culture using your own, the eyes of your own culture, because you will tend and underestimate or undermine them. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for the comment. And I would say that we, as the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and we say we are the premier University of African Scholarship, which makes us, and I see it as an obligation for us to have at least some ideas around some of these African issues. Because like what you said, certain students, they do manipulate them. But them manipulating these issues is what also makes the same issue to be the cause of dropping out. Thanks.
Okay, I think I'm next. I don't know whether it's a comment, a recommendation, but maybe it's a recommendation because earlier on you said you are still reframing all this. My recommendation would be in terms of mindfulness in how you present this. The moment you pathologize it and you talk about it as a cause for dropout, already you're making a gift to be a curse. My recommendation would be, as you rephrase and rethink about how you present this, maybe to start thinking about how does ukutwala influence student performance or student success. It's a very neutral statement. It's not laden with ukutwasa causes dropping out. Because the moment we put it in that space of negativity, then we are already saying something about it, something that is bad. Now, I don't know how a good thing, a gift, can suddenly be made to be a burden. It's just something that you need to start thinking about. And of course, this is coming from a qualitative researcher. How we put things is how we also we are able to get things out coming to us. The moment it's put negatively, we're going to get negative responses. If we put it neutrally, we are going to get as many responses as possible. Just commenting on what Dr. Pillay spoke about in terms of CCOM. I can't speak about CCOM in other colleges, but in the College of Health Sciences, which I chair, we do get students who have undergone ukutwasa, and we listen. Some of them as part of the documentation that is needed, because we say all cases are assessed on their merit. They even bring us the pictures of them having undergone ukutwasa, and we look and we talk to them, to those pictures, to them, and see how best do we go back to the issue I was talking about. How do we make sure that while you are undergoing this process, you are also performing accordingly? How do we, as a college, support you in your journey of your gift? Perhaps it's because we are in health sciences and this gift has something to do with healing. Maybe that is why we are able to work with them. I can stand anywhere and say we have not excluded anyone in the College of Health Sciences based on their ukutwasa. Instead, we've looked at how best, working with your gift, how do we make sure that you perform successfully? Because that's your gift. We never make it a burden. We never make it a curse. So my suggestion, my recommendation, colleague to colleague, the language is going to make this very important study a success.
Thank you so very much, Prof. And I think the commentator at the back made a very interesting comment to say that sometimes when we are coming to discuss other people's concept in terms of their culture, we end up using our own framework and worldviews of defining whatsoever that exists. And that's why if you check in my presentation, I did introduce the IKS, which is a form of how do we now bring this indigenous knowledge concept into the mainstream knowledge. At the same time, taking into consideration what you have mentioned. And of course, if you check there, it is a mixed research method, which will have to have the qualitative side of it to create meanings that might be positive. Thanks, Prof.
Oh, can I ask? Okay. I'm Zoe Gumede from Law and Management, Teaching and Learning Unit. I think, and I agree, I think we can all agree that most of the issues around ukuthwasa can be addressed, need to be addressed with engagement and communication. If you look back at the comments and student experiences during COVID, most of what we picked up on from all the issues and comments of students was they felt that they don't have support from academic staff. So I feel when there's engagement and when there's communication into when we talk about ukuthwasa, it should also be not just on the experiences of students, but it should also come back to us in academic support and everyone who works in academic monitoring into how do we also learn for those who do not understand the concepts and the initiation and know the steps, because there'll come a time when we'll all have to assist the students in any way you'll come across someone. Now, ukuthwasa is a belief. It's from Zulu culture, right? So not all of us are well informed. So it should also come to academic support as well, Guti. Do we also need to start knowing, we may come across this from students and assist them and know when we engage on how we understand the concept?
No, thanks so very much. Your contribution and statement is noted. And I think that's around what Prof was talking about and what they are doing in the in the medical school, which perhaps some of the schools they are not doing in. Thanks.
Right, that would be our last question.
Thanks, presenter. My comment or question, we may decide when I put it forward. What I would like to say is that I would like to paint a scenario, then you say whether it's a question that comes with it or a contribution to what you have said. Now, there was a scenario that happened in College of Humanities, School of Social Sciences. A student stood up against a tutor, a female tutor. The student happened to be a male. What did he say? He said, no, in my culture, it is not allowed for a female to be leading me. I will never allow a female teacher to be teaching me. We tried to convince this guy until he left the classroom. Could this be say or to be part of ukuthwasa or not? However, if it is or not, like it has been said by the prof at the front seat there, that redefinition or the application of concept is very important. In this case, I would like to ask, how do we, like you said, IKS, Indigenous Knowledge System, is very important, this is good. So how do we bring forward the application of traditional African culture and the conventional academic culture in the case of ukuthwasa and the scenario I painted? Thank you.
Yours is a very bombing. Thank you so very much for your comment. Ukuthwasa, as the definition was, it's a cultural practice. And now you are talking about a student who does not want to be taught by a female. And the student put forward a cultural belief to say, a woman cannot teach me. He might be a Igbo man. He might be a Maasai from Tanzania. But the question is, these universities that we have in the continent, are they Africans for them to allow those conversations? If these universities that are transplanted universities with Western-dominated paradigm, which you call them international standard, but perhaps is it not an opportunity for us to begin to say, can we discuss this matter as a university of KwaZulu-Natal, located in KwaZulu and see what could be the aspect of responding to this type of issues. So we are decolonizing, and we are bringing new views, which might be correct or not correct, but the space, once they are given, it becomes very interesting. And then we are going to be in plural varsities, not universities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwamba. I guess the lesson from the presentation is that we need to factor in indigenous knowledge to the practice of academic monitoring and support. And that being our last speaker for the day, thank you so much. And I will hand over to Dr. Salosh Pillay to do the vote of thanks and the draw, or to do the draw.
Okay, we tried to get Deloitte to us today to audit this lucky draw, but we were not successful. So Cassie and I are going to do it. We've got some freebies for you, and we're going to do a lucky draw. We've taken your name badges away from you. So Cassie's going to shake this bag up. Okay. They want to have a better look at what you're doing. Shake the bag up and... Okay, can we just complete this and we'll come back to the feedback? Okay, I'm going to allow you to put your hand in there, close your eyes. It's like the lotto. And she's going to call out the name.
Oh, I'm going to call out the name. Tandanani Ngidi.
And Tandanani wins tickets to Crown Gospel.
Thank you so much. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh gosh.
Thank you. And then Cassie's going to shake that bag up again, a double shake. Here we go. And draw a name out.
Andile Mbele.
Andile Mbele wins tickets to the Java concert. Here we go, and we've got 5 more from Van Skyk, 500 Rand vouchers.
Sinegugu Kuzwayo.
Sneh wins a 500 Rand voucher or gift card from Van Skyk.
Thank you.
And the next one.
Fave Johanna Tata. There we go. It's only this side of the room.
Yeah, she's on the left of me, but it's being biased to the right-hand side of the room. I think we're going to switch, eh? Come, Cassie.
Oh, I keep forgetting I'm meant to be in these. Thank you.
Just for luck, try the other way. You never know.
All right. Mpendulo Mashumi. It worked!
It worked. It worked. At the back, I will come to you in the front. Thank you. And this is for you.
Thank you, sir.
Come. And 2 more to go.
Kudzai Goto.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And the last one to go. A triple shake, Cassie.
Just Winnie.
Wow. Winnie wanted to give us a word and we continued with the draw. Winnie, there was a reason to continue and not give you that moment because now we're giving it to you. You see, there was a God's intervention.
You see God's intervention. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm going to hand over to Professor Duma for the closing remarks.
You will work until the last minute of the day. Anyway, it's been a lovely day. Not only just because I asked for it from God, but because you made it to be the loveliest day. So in terms of acknowledgements and closing remarks, I started this job earlier in the morning. I don't know if some of you noticed when I started thanking people, so I'm continuing from there. But this time around, I'm going to start by thanking you for being the best audience ever. Having come here and not only just stayed, but participated in asking pertinent and relevant questions, you've really made this day a day to remember. Thank you. Oh, you're not going to vote for yourselves. Then, of course, I'm going to thank our keynote speaker. She is not in the room. She comes from Pretoria, so the moment she hears the waves, she loses her mind. So she's enjoying herself at the beach, but she's staying for the weekend, so I'll still be seeing her later on during the week. Thanking her for sharing her words of wisdom and introducing us to the application of the theory of care, or the theory of caring, into higher education. Not that we don't know anything about caring, but when you start to introduce it to higher education, it becomes something else. And then, of course, my beautiful panelists, who are the Student Support Service Managers of the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I really enjoyed being on the couch with you. I'm sure the audience also felt the same way, but I can't speak for them. They can only confirm that by giving you another round of an applause. Thank you. And I also want to thank all the different speakers in both rooms, this one and the one next door, for sharing your research, for sharing your lived experiences, and for sharing your best practices. I am sure we all learned from those. And I'm also sure that you have stimulated some of our thinking. Maybe coming from this colloquium, in our individual corners, in our individual colleges, we are going to start implementing or even start developing some of the things that are related to the best practices that you shared with us. Thank you so much. And of course, to the sponsors who have made this day exciting, especially the last part. I've never seen people running so much just to come when they hear their names. Usually you hear a person calling your name and you look the other way around. But this time around, we even saw Dr. Cele running to the front just to receive the gifts, the things that they have won. I think among the sponsors, there is Fanscake. I can't remember the other one, but those are the things that make academia to be nice. Knowing that I can sit at a conference for the whole day, just hoping for that last 500 rand voucher or whatever it is. But I'm joking. I don't think you stayed only for that. You stayed only because it makes sense to be here. Thank you so much. And then, of course, I can't forget the steering committee team members, although I started thanking them in the morning. I can't forget the logistic team and all the other task team members, especially those that are coming from the other colleges. Perhaps the ones that are coming from the College of Health Sciences felt it as a duty, but the ones that came from other colleges, really, it was such a blessing having you joining us and having you working with us to make this day a success. I thank you very much. We've had other people that not necessarily steering committee members, but who've become very important part of the team. People like Samuel, who has been coming up and down helping us here on the presentations. I can't forget the people who are at the back who have helped us to be streaming and probably also keeping this for the generations to come, as well as for even anyone who was here to come and remind themselves, going on to those YouTube of the university. If you go to UTEL and you can find them, it's because we have a very wonderful team at UKZN that ensures that things like this do not just go like for the day, but we can keep them for the rest of our existence, actually. Colleagues, friends, everyone who is here, it's been wonderful being with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.